Here's Nick calling from Etobicoke Centre. Nick, do you have a question for the candidates?
Hi.
Hi.
I've lived most of my adult life here in Etobicoke, and I've been really happy with all of the people who run for positions, simply because of the fact that I thought that their behavior was very ethical. And I don't really know Mr. Opitz, but I've been reading a little bit on the web, and it sort of bothers me that when Mr. Opitz ran in Mississauga-South, he was accused of actually going out and buying out domain names of other nomination contestants simply to divert traffic away from them and redirect it back to his own website. When they confronted him with it, he promised them that he would no longer use the redirecting sites method. Even his party scolded him when they came back and said that I think that people will use this to judge the character or lack of character with this individual, and this is not the way we feel conservative candidates should
But this is another campaign in another riding, right?
Yeah, but here comes the question.
That's what I was kind of keying to. All right.
Yeah. And even in today's paper, the comment about the Arab Federation and how, they were literally, in a way, unethically used. What does Mr. Opitz, is he going to use such tactics here in Etobicoke Centre? And what do the other candidates think of unethical behavior by politicians? Because I personally think that it sickens me.
All right, Nick, thanks very much for that. Let me come to you first, Ted.
First of all, I had no knowledge of that email being sent. I do not support the characterization or content of that email. And
did it come from your campaign?
Yes, it did.
It did,
and this individual is no longer with our campaign.
Okay, no longer with the campaign.
And as for
those who don't know what's going on, this was an email that is now in circulation. It's all over the place now, as I'm sure you know, Ted Opitz. And it's an email from a member of the campaign team, the Ted Opitz campaign team, and it's asking to create a photo op about the multicultural groups that support Ted Opitz. The opportunity is to have up to 20 people in national folklore costumes which represent their ethnic backgrounds. These people will sit in the front row behind the PM Great TV photo op. We're seeking representation from the Arab community. Do you have any cultural groups that would like to participate by having somebody at the event in ethnic costume? And I guess this relates to a visit by the Prime Minister on Thursday? Is that what that's about? So what was your reaction when you heard about that?
I found out about it at the same time everyone else did. Obviously, I didn't know about this email until
Well, what did you think when, but I guess what I'm driving at, what did you think when you heard about it?
Total surprise, of course.
Yeah.
And again, I don't condone the characterization or content of it, and that gentleman is no longer with our campaign.
All right. Okay, fair enough. Now, Nick also brought up this other issue about domain names on the internet. I don't know if you want to address that. Go ahead.
Well, I'll just address it quickly. This was a very contested conservative nomination at that time.
It was a nomination battle.
It was a nomination.
All right.
I ultimately lost that nomination, but what did I do? As a result, I went and campaigned with the winner afterwards.
Okay. All right. That's all right. Borys Wrzesnewskyj, what would you like to say about all this?
Personal example matters, as I mentioned when I spoke of the ballooning budget in the Prime Minister's office. But it's interesting because this individual who's mentioned as a staff member was not just any individual on the campaign team. It turns out that he was in fact the campaign manager, the most senior person on Mr. Opitz's campaign team. And it speaks to a pattern. We saw Minister Kenney's communications just before the election that went public, where he referred to groups as ethnic and very ethnic. We see the campaign manager for Mr. Opitz's campaign in a denigrating way for many multicultural communities, saying, well, if you wear your ethnic costumes, we'll line you up in the first row. It's just unacceptable.
Every party lines up. However, every party lines up people behind the leader. That's a fairly common tactic, isn't it?
People come up, but if you wear so-called ethnic costume will put you in the front row. It's somewhat demeaning. But what I'm curious about is Mr. Opitz seemed to have hijacked other conservative candidates' websites to redirect traffic to his own website.
Okay, we're now talking about a campaign, a past campaign,
yes,
all right?
And I of course worry. I don't want to see that sort of tactic and that sort of unethical
I'll come back to Ted Opitz for a final thought on that, then we're going to move on to something else.
If we want to talk about mistakes, you know, I could talk about Borys in 2006, where he said we should negotiate with Hezbollah, his entire party, including Scott Bryson, including Carolyn Bennett, including the interim leader at the time. All chastise him for that.
I didn't open up the door so that you two guys could squabble back and forth.
Nor do I want to.
However, Borys Wrzesnewskyj made additional comments about what he called the hijacking of domain names. I offer you the opportunity to come back and defend that statement, and then we'll move on. If you like, it's up to you.
I didn't hijack anybody's domain names. You know, I bought some domain names at the time. It turned out not to be a particularly good idea. And didn't work. I lost, and as a consequence, I took the high road, and I campaigned with the winner.
Okay, fair enough. All right, okay. Let's